Greetings, Ranger fans. Jake here for another edition of Database Rangers Power Reviews, where we take a look back at our classic episodes of Database Rangers Power Reviews as we count down the 100 weeks to the 100th and final episode of the series. So welcome to those of you who have already arrived in the chat. Happy October, Sean. Welcome, Scott. Congratulations, Lex, on making it onto your school's thespian team. And welcome, Jenny C. Yes, happy October, everyone. Hard to believe it's already October. This year is flying right by. I know that earlier in the year I had been planning and hoping to release at least one video per month to keep things consistent. But it is. I am aware that I did end up missing September just due to the whirlwind of being back to the school year and being busy with teaching, and deciding to focus on getting 95 together, because 95 is a beast, and 95 is slowly but steadily coming along. Welcome, Dan. Good to see you. Just to give you all an update on that, episode 95, I've been focusing very hard on a major effect that's used prominently in the episode, and it's taking a while to get everything where I want it and to get it right, because there's a good amount of CG that I'm looking to do, and it's not there yet, but if it comes together the way I think it will, and the way it's looking like it will, this might be some of my best CG work that I have done in years. So I'm feeling very good about that, and I'm hoping that you all enjoy what I have to show off for you next week. Or not next week, next time, next episode. Don't want to get your hopes up. No, it's not going to be ready in a week. Hopefully by the end of the month. I'm going to be working very hard to get that out by the end of the month. Oh, Jenny, you're taking your SAT tomorrow. Rest up. Go in there with a clear head. Pace yourself well. If there's a question that you don't understand, skip past it. Come back to it later. Try, basically on those, you're going for quantity. You want to try and get through as many questions as you can reasonably quickly get through, and then go back and take care of the ones that take a little longer to get through. That way you'll maximize your chance of getting a good score. And always read the instructions carefully. Sometimes you'll think that you have the answer, and then when you reread, specifically on the math questions, then when you reread, you'll notice that, oh, I solved for X, but they were asking for what is 2X. Because sometimes they'll throw out those little twists to just check your reading comprehension on those sorts of problems. But yes, once again, congratulations to Lex for making it onto your school's thespian team for districts. I hope you do well with all your monologues. And yes, we are 1 year from the final month of the series. That is true, because we are coming up on the 9-year anniversary of Database Rangers Power Reviews. I want to do something. I'm not quite sure what. I've been weighing some options. Also, Dino Fury is actually fully aired in the UK, which is crazy to me, because I've been trying to hold back and not get myself all spoiled, but it feels like I'm one of the few at this stage. So, I still need to confirm with Morphin Legacy, but I am considering shifting my timetable on releasing the rapid run-throughs and deeper looks, to maybe release them on Saturdays instead of Sundays, since I have that greater lead time since we have the access to the episodes, but I would still want to release them after the episodes premiere on Nickelodeon. Even though I know everything's going to be dropping on Netflix, I can only do 1 week at a time and have it really work at all reasonably with my schedule. So yeah, October is going to be a big, busy month. I'm going to be back into doing Dino Fury reviews. I'm going to try and release something to commemorate the 9-year anniversary of the series. And I'm going to try and end the month with our Big Bang episode 95. Really, everything is just a big episode at this point. There's, like, some episodes are going to be bigger than others, but there's no small episodes at this point. We're into the final 6, which is going to be crazy to try to do. But I'm looking forward to releasing those. But yeah, I've been hearing nothing but good things about the Dino Fury episodes. I'm looking forward to checking them out. When I was younger, I probably would have jumped right on them the moment that they were available. But since I am doing the YouTube series where I like to review and have enough time to write a script, like right after I've watched the episode, but before I've watched the next episode, and I don't have time to just write a script daily while teaching, I've unfortunately have fallen behind. It's the curse of the online reviewer, unfortunately. But I'm looking forward to seeing what all the hype's about. I know, a handful of spoilers, at least with regards to the early episodes that are going to be airing. I know virtually nothing about, like, the final 5 episodes outside of, what I've seen in Ryu Soldier. That's it. And that people have been enjoying them. So I'm interested to see what all the buzz has been about. Welcome, Chris. Welcome, Rudy. Good to see you both. But yeah, like I was saying, I've only seen that first half of Dino Fury Season 1. I still haven't seen the second half yet. But I'm going to start checking it out as it's coming back to Nickelodeon in just over a week. I mean, they're technically back now showing 9, 10, and I believe tomorrow's 11. So next week is going to be the first actually new to the U.S. episode on Nickelodeon. And that next weekend will be the release of the Rapid Run Through a Deeper Look. So, if someone was born when the first episode of Power Reviews came out, they would be probably in 4th grade at this point, since they would be 9 years old. Or about to be 9 years old. So, speaking of Power Reviews, getting back on topic, let us not forget, right before we start things off, to always remember our 3 equally non-controversial phrases that we should all agree as a basic line here. So, number 1, say it with me, chat. Black lives matter. Number 2, say it with me, chat. Fascism is bad. And number 3, say it with me, chat. Superheroes are fun. So let's check out our favorite hero, who still hasn't quite figured out who he is yet. Our one and only Database Ranger, with episode 46 of Database Rangers Power Reviews, our review of Power Rangers Megaforce, episode 15, The Human Factor. And
previously on Power Review.
Yes, acknowledging everything with Guy and all that. Welcome, Real Fan Noah. Yes, our just kind of running through everything that's been going on with Oops, sorry, didn't mean to pause it. There it goes. Everything that's been going on with the mysteries that have just been piling up over the course of the series. Like, this was really around the point where I was really having to squeeze a lot of stuff into the recaps. And this is probably around the point where I solidly decided, okay, I can only fit... I need to have cut off that hard limit of 1 minute of recap time and no more. And yeah, this is one that rides right on that fine line there, 1 minute of recaps. Because there's just so much stuff that is just piled up at this point. And that big twist at the end of Kay's hands vanishing, Guy arriving. Just so many things.
Can't keep carrying people around like this. Must be wreaking havoc on my lower lumbar.
Yeah, I was so exhausted after episode 41 of or not episode 41 of with episode 40 where I had to carry um uh, I love Kay's little theory here.
Hey, I need you to listen.
She's trying to figure out why her hands are vanishing.
And I'm willing to bet that more are on their way soon. And it looks like running isn't really enough.
Yeah, Kay can't leave the apartment.
So we need to be prepared to hunker down here. Now I'm going to go get Mayo and see if I can convince her to join us. Provided that she's not still freaked out over the whole blowy eye thing. What do you want me to do?
There's so much going on.
I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but I've got plenty of questions for him when he wakes up. Do you really think he'll talk? I've got some ideas. All right.
The tone of the show has shifted so much at this point because there's so much going on and the stakes have gotten so high.
Good thing.
And yeah, we just sort of mimed the idea of throwing a little
Mayo? Mayo,
earbud.
It's really important. Okay, can you patch me through to Mayo's phone?
Yes. Connecting now. Mail phone, leave a message.
Hi, Mayo. It's
I can't remember if we just did that in one take where, or if I actually cut together, or if I had to have MJ switch gears and do separate takes for the two different voices.
If we stick together. I know that I freaked you out before, but you don't have to worry about it.
Oh man, I forget how young some of you guys are.
Please, just call me back when you get
Yes, I'm aware. I've been doing this a long time. For
and, don't ring
in
the doorbell.
several
It's,
cases, it's been since childhood. I forgot I had this little moment of trying to reach out to Mayo. And I had to. I had to just be very. I just was poking the
she's not answering.
index card to try and
Everything's ready.
mime writing there.
How's our security?
Coming along nicely. I'm almost ready to implement the countermeasures I developed during our guest's first stay.
Perfect. Keep up the good work and keep yourself hidden. This is where things get dicey. Greetings, Ranger fans. And welcome.
This is ridiculous.
Now, I'm sure that many of you remember my old roommate
I-
and one-time guest co-host, Guy.
I know I have the script around.
Why don't you reintroduce yourself?
Actually, I want to check something with that script.
Now,
Same thing he said last time that
secret ordinance
guy
insurance
that
outfit.
DB asked him to introduce
That's
himself,
right.
of course.
The same one that many of you remember from Power Rangers RPF. Now, you may be asking yourself, how is that possible? Well, that's what we're here to find out.
I love that DB is just owning that he's a YouTuber right here, and that's what he's using to try and interrogate Guy. He's literally attempting to basically engage he's using Megaforce as sort of almost a torture technique to try and interrogate him.
Go with that. While Gia nabbed some frozen treats from the nearby
And
ice cream
Dave
truck,
has such a
Emma
great
imagined what the world must have been
fascinated
like before they
eyebrow
made
look,
it.
so I always have him pull off the Guy eyebrow
Currently includes
whenever
extra
possible.
for some reason. Deep underwater, we find
Also,
Rock in his brand new lab.
He's such a good sport about so many things.
Cooper and Biggs were messing around with the Aurora bomb. Don't worry, they didn't end up being that important anyway. Realizing that neither the insectoids nor the mutants have been up to the job of defeating the Rangers, the alien prince has begun work on a brand
But yeah,
new robot
the
army.
introduction of Metal
Starting with
Alice
its latest
was
creation,
was an interesting
Metal
shift of gears there.
I think they prefer the term executive assistant. In turn, Alice has developed a brand new
I love
robot.
just Dave having to speak through the pillowcase throughout the whole thing, because that is literally just a pillowcase wrapped over his mouth there. But yeah,
It looks like Gia has got
if
no
you're listening to Guy, you can clearly hear he has lines that were all clearly written in the script, but it's just so fun to have him be like the unintelligible there.
Says the guy who got himself fried by a doorbell. Tensu pulls him away, and for a moment it looks like Jake will be left behind. Until Gia tosses the shippers a bone.
Okay, so Rudy, how is MJ able to play Dr. K and Mayo at the same time in the same scene? Editing. Whenever you see Dr. K and Mayo on screen at the same time, that is the result of compositing. So I have MJ read as Dr. K several times over, change costumes, read as Mayo several times over. I'll trim all the separate takes and then lay them on top of one another and cut things so that Mayo's on one side, Dr. K is on the other. Which is challenging if they ever need to step in front of one another. But generally I try to keep them separated enough that I can just do a simple split. So that is how we accomplish Dr. K and Mayo on screen at the same time.
Since unlike the insectoids and mutants, robots can be repaired and upgraded.
Oh yeah, hunkering down the apartment that does have a new context nowadays. I mean, in the context here, it was that Dr. K can't leave the apartment due to there apparently being a tether keeping her in this reality that she can't step away from.
That's a good point. An all-froyo diet can't be very good for you. All non-fat Sundays aside, the Rangers morph and head on down to the Civic Center, where Metal Alice reads...
It's very much, as much as I no longer watch South Park, this is very much, sort of a Kenny kind of situation where he just kind of is always... He's just always trying, basically interpreting the unintelligible character. And of course, just tossing different edition names onto the end. I do like coming up with goofy names for monsters and then just continually misnaming them with increasingly ridiculous names each time. I do have an episode coming up where I do play around with the name of a monster quite a bit.
So with the Chrome Crusader stuck defragmenting his hard drive, Alice finds a new rabbit hole.
And then of course just having 1,000,001 different names for Robo Knights. Chrome Crusader is a good one, so that's always fun. But yeah, the challenge for so many of the episodes are just the yes, a little call out to Super Mega Mode that would be coming later, and Guy having no idea what he's talking about.
After a bit of the old hack, slash, and blast, the Rangers are brought back down to Mega. But Robo Knight has resolved his cybernetic
oh no, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. But yeah, it's always fun coming up with different names to call the characters and just have that as a running gag.
So, Dex being the only character to actually develop this season, Robo Knight has learned to include humans within his mission to protect the Earth, inspiring the Megaforce Rangers.
It is so weird that the only character that actually received any character development during Megaforce was the only member of the team who did not really continue into the next season.
Wait, what did he just call them? Zombos? Oh, Zombos. The Rangers summon the command ship and activate...
Yeah, because they're a variation on the Zombats.
Robo Knights go say Grant. And finally finish off Rotox Double XL once and for all. Finally. The battle won. The Rangers meet back up with Robo Knight on his roof.
It's so weird how Vrax had so many different forms that were just never really explained.
People think that the Blue Centurion was actually the 6th Turbo Ranger. Emma takes this moment to
and just that nice little reference to Turbo there. That every now and again I like to have those little Easter eggs of referencing Turbo or Power Rangers in space in such a way that, you know, connects well to Phantom.
And that's the end of the episode. So, what did you think? Well, actually,
I remember this take where it's like every shot of Power Reviews, I do multiple takes so that I can edit it together smoothly as best I can. So basically, that little thing of, well, it wasn't so bad, we did that like 3 to 5 times. So it's like, okay, we did that. Okay, tying your mouth over again. Okay, ready and action. All right, untying your mouth, you speak, and then we tie your mouth up. So we it's just constantly taking that on and off each time we had to shoot that bit. And just trying, you know, dealing with the whole tying him up with the sheets. And this was, I think, around the time though that that Dave was still living in the same apartment complex as we were, so availability was a lot smoother. You know, back then, none of us were married, none of us had kids, and now we've got so much.
Oh, there's no way that's happening. Why not? Because the last time we met, you tried to punch me in the face. You actually kicked me in the face. Well, I wasn't exactly myself.
You kicked me in the face.
Yeah, the jury's still out on that one. Wait, no, I'm the one asking questions here. Could have fooled me. Hey, shut up. I mean, don't shut up. You're going to tell me everything that you know, Guy, if that is your real name, which I bet it isn't, in which case let's start there. What's your real name? Agent. Why? Because I asked. What? So your name is Agent. Hey, I'm the one asking the questions around here. Really? What? Are we really doing this? Of course we are.
The whole thing of Agent Y.
Are we really doing an Abbott and Costello bit?
Yes, I was waiting for months to do the Abbott and Costello bit.
Never figured you for a fan of the classics. Fair enough. What were we talking about again? My name. Agent Y.
This is just such a fun conversation.
Not the word, in case you were wondering. Okay. You are oddly talkative today. I told you before that we needed to talk. Before? Before you kicked me in the face. You're not letting this go, are you? Alright, you want to talk?
And he never does.
Why you kidnapped Mayo. I had nothing to do with that. I saw your car.
Would I show this to my kids as a reward or a punishment? Yes! The Prius line!
Fair enough. Why did they take her then?
I love the Prius line so much.
Face. Really? It's the truth. I've been convincing them to hold off until you came along, spooked them all, and knocked out the only person who could have talked them out of it. You seem to be skipping over the part where you tried to knock me out first. I was trying to protect you. Oh, yeah, sure. Why do you think I wouldn't let them trank you on the spot? Well, because you really wanted to punch me in the face?
I mean, I can see that.
You out of there and keep Mayo from getting involved. Yeah, because you obviously care so much. She is key to whatever they're planning. You keep saying they. Last I checked, you were one of them. Well, check again. I'm on your side. Really? Don't believe me? Take a look at the jacket.
I love this bit. Just everything about the back and forth. Dave is
What do you think initiated the police protocol?
Dave enjoys Power Rangers, but hasn't kept up with it.
Not. Trust me. Why should I? You've never given me any reason to. We're not friends, Guy. We never have been. I mean,
I like this acknowledgement
I
here.
tried, and I think you did too in your own way, but there's no trust here. And there's not going to be unless you can convince me, unequivocally and without a shred of doubt, that you are not their man. And I don't see that happening. Listen, I don't think this is going to... Let it through.
And then this little bit here, the code words.
5 will come and 5 will stay. 6 will come and 6 will stay.
What's happening?
And the official introduction of Hexagon into the continuity of Power Reviews. I love that whole conversation sequence. It just plays really well. I love the interplay, the back and forth between Guy and DB. It's quick, it's snappy, it's addressing things that have been brewing underneath the surface for these characters for so long, and they're just calling it out. Like, DB's just being very honest here. He's like, yeah, because at this stage, they are not friends. They were they lived in the same apartment for a while, but they were not friends. Even if they did end on good terms. And I felt like that was worth acknowledging. And it was worth showing that trust needed to be built and hadn't been. Guy was, sort of played as a potential villain in the series at this stage. Up until this moment where he tries to win DB over. So there's just there's so much really fun character interplay there that I'd been really looking forward to playing through up until this point. The Prius line is one that I still find very fun because it set up the gag of us always using Dave's car for every single Alphabet Soup car sequence. So you'll see in later episodes we have like Agent R driving a Prius, and it's still Dave's Prius. And even now in year 3, when we're on the spaceship and we have the shuttlecraft that took us to and from the landlord's fortress, it's still Dave's Prius. Every Alphabet Soup vehicle, with the exception of Dr. C's smart car, is Dave's Prius. Except for there was the one time where I needed to have it be the Alphabet Soup like parking lot. And so we literally drove around Dave's car until we found a different Prius to park next to, so it would look like it was just a parking lot full of Priuses. Does he still have the car? He did finally change his car. I believe he finally got a new car like maybe 2 months ago. And because, again, in case I have not made this clear, because Dave is an incredibly good person and good friend, he held off on trading in for a new car until we finished all of the remaining shuttle shots for the series. So basically we had to make sure that everything with the Prius was shot. And he made sure to hold on to it until we'd shot everything left with the interior of the Prius. Even though a different car may have still passed for it. But he waited before getting a new car until we were done filming with it, because he's just such a good friend like that. Oh yeah, I am so far behind on Zenkaiger. I want to say we're about a dozen episodes in, and I know it's like well past that now. I did finish watching Kamen Rider Saber. I haven't watched Kamen Rider Revice yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to check out Revice. I haven't decided yet on that one. I know there was weird stuff with the main voice actor for Vice, and I know that, and honestly, the crossover episode at the end of Saber just didn't hype me up for it. So I might be passing on Revice. We'll see. I never know what I might go back and check out again later. But yeah, that is that is just there's so much good stuff when we get into the relationship between DB and Guy, because it is a different kind of relationship, as are with each of the characters. Like when you look at Database and Dr. K. There was some antagonism there that eventually grew into a very strong friendship. And it has been the same thing with Guy. It was just something that came later with a different sort of antagonism. You know, and just these characters slowly learning to open up to each other and reveal themselves to one another and slowly learn more and more about themselves. I can tell you right now, we've got a couple more just great moments with Guy coming up, that are gonna give us further insight into his character, and I think that Dave does a really good job with those moments, and you know, obviously, you know, we've Dr. K, MJ, MJ is Dr. K, Mayo, K Alpha, you know, the more Posners, DB, everybody still has their more moments left to go, in these final 6 episodes as we wrap up the series, and prepare to say farewell to these characters. It's been a long road, and it had already been a long road at this point when we were at 46. You know, this was, you know, over a year into producing the series, and these characters had just grown and developed so much just over this time. And although the timeline of the releases has been stretched out a lot since then, I feel like within the series there's still been, you know, a lot of development and growth, or at least I hope that I've accomplished that. This one was also one where the footage of the actual episode being reviewed actually worked against me a little bit, because I'm like, okay, Megaforce has been really rough lately. You know what? I'm gonna do a review where we use Megaforce as, you know, the torture to try and make Guy talk. And then it was an actually like halfway decent episode, and we're like, yeah, no, this didn't really work out. And then we just don't acknowledge it further after that and move on. And we just get into the actual meat of the interrogation. But yeah, at this stage, structurally, it was a lot closer to how Linkara structured his reviews back then, where maybe the story might, you know, inform the framing of the review, but the real story stuff was right at the beginning and the end. And then shortly after this, it becomes, you know, far more integrated, and as we move forward, it becomes far more integrated with the story and the review being done in juxtaposed parallel. And I know I asked on Twitter the other night, and I've gotten a lot of responses I hadn't had a chance to look at yet, about who else is still doing reviews with story arcs and lore. And one thing I find kind of interesting is that I know a lot of people will watch review shows and deliberately skip the story elements because that's not what they're there to watch. Meanwhile, like, I remember my dad would ask me if it was possible that I could release, like, recut versions of Power reviews that were just the story elements, which I know Linkara has done for some of his story arcs, but is really not practical for Power reviews just because the reviews become so integrated into the story, and the reviews inform the story a fair bit as well. Not all of them. A lot of times they'll just be sort of there to provide a juxtaposition, a thematic juxtaposition. But there are plenty of episodes that we've had where it really highlights information about the characters and their backgrounds and who they are and what's going on in this world. Like, you know, so much of the RPMs, we've reviewed 3 different RPM episodes, and they've really informed, okay, who is the character of Dr. K? You know, what is the technology that we ended up using to take over the Alphabet Soup ship, and things like that. Who is the Phantom Ranger? What is the significance of Jungle Karma Pizza? So many little things where the goal was, even if you never had watched Power Rangers, so long as you were paying attention throughout the course of Power Reviews, you would still be able to follow the context of the events. Even if that was context that you might get later down the line, I still want to make sure to provide the correct context for everything that we chose to make into a story plot. Power of Pink being another good example. And I hope that and at the same time, use this show as a way to really educate people about the rich history of the Power Rangers franchise. Along with, just telling an interesting story. So there were a lot of goals going on there, and I feel like we've accomplished them pretty well. Obviously, it impacts how accessible the show becomes later in the series, where everything, especially at the, even at this point, before we're even halfway through, it's become very dense on the plot, as we were seeing from the recap at the beginning. So it does get difficult to jump into, but I hope that the ride from beginning to end is a satisfying one for everyone. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so a channel called Fandom Night, where they review Power Rangers episodes and story. Oh, that's cool. I haven't heard of that. I haven't heard of that channel. Yeah, I have trouble keeping track of all the different Power Rangers channels that there are now. I actually tend to watch. I actually tend to watch a lot of non-Power Rangers content on YouTube as of late. Although I do want to try and be a little bit more diligent in keeping track of the prominent Power Rangers YouTubers. I know, for instance, Ranger Liz. I've appeared on her channel once or twice during her live streams, and I know that she's going to be changing up the direction of her channel shortly to no longer be doing the Ranger Week in Review and instead focusing on other works. So if she sees this, kudos to you for all you accomplished in 4 years. Like, you managed to get such a wider spread and a more consistent release of work over the course of 4 years than I have over the course of 9. And I definitely understand the desire to step back, especially when you have a family. Maintaining this type of output is a challenge. It physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, this is a challenge, and it has been a major challenge. For me, I know these last 9 years, and it's going to continue to be throughout the next year, and perhaps beyond. I don't know what comes next after Power Reviews ends. I know that I want to be more active in contributing to the world around me, like we were with the charity live streams last year. I know I do want to do more things like that, and make more societal contributions and rally the fan base and doing good works, because that was awesome. But I'm still figuring that part out. So I know that I've gone on for a fair bit on a fair number of topics beyond the scope of this episode. But so I think it's time for us to wrap up, and we'll continue our discussions next week, as well as our a firm confirmation on what's going on with the return of the Dino Fury reviews, and what we'll be doing for the 9th anniversary. I'm thinking of doing a different kind of video, talking about something that I'm heavily considering talking about something that's not Power Rangers related, but more related to my experiences as a YouTuber across the course of 9 years. So hopefully that would be an interesting video. We'll see if I'm able to do it. I know I had wanted to do that Conversations in Context months ago, and that didn't come together because I lost half the script when my computer crashed and various other issues with just time and life. But I'd like to try and deliver something special to you guys for the last anniversary before we hit the big 10 years next year. So, to wrap things up for tonight, let's not forget our other 3 equally non-controversial phrases. So, number 1, say it with me, chat. Love is love. Number 2, say it with me, chat. Trans rights are human rights. And number 3, say it with me, chat. Robots are cool. Even as they're still figuring themselves out. So, thank you again to all of you for joining me tonight. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Please invite your friends. You know, this is I want to keep growing this channel across the course of this final year of the series. Let's see if maybe we can hit 4K by the end of this year. That would be great. We're only like we're less than 200 away from 4K now on subscribers, and that would be fantastic if we could hit that. You know, before at the very least before we wrap things up. It would be great if we could get there before the end of the year, but we'll see. So, knocking on wood. Thank you again, and until next time, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.